So, now I'm pretty sure both of us, this is the real meat and potatoes of why we get so excited about E3 every year, and that is Nintendo's E3 Direct presentation.
Of course. I mean, nowadays, definitely. I was not really a big watcher back in the Wii U era, but nowadays, with the Switch, absolutely.
Man, let me tell you, as someone who was a watcher through the Wii U era, there were some bad Nintendo E3s. I'm just gonna be real right now. Like, even the ones that came out, like, in retrospect with hindsight, like, I remember the year they showed us Splatoon. I was like, this looks so bad.
We were not into it. I remember us being not into it.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know what it was. Like, I guess at the time, like, the Wii U was going through such a rough patch, and I was like, they gotta show off, like, their big guns. Like, they gotta show off what's the new big IP and their biggest or what's their new biggest entry in Zelda or Mario or whatever.
Would have been nice juxtaposed next to a big player. A big, like, big AAA title kind of a thing.
I remember, like, that year I thought was really weak, even though Splatoon ended up being a fantastic game. But yeah, so in general, Nintendo kind of dropped the ball a few years. And then we go a couple years ago, 2016, they only showed a 3.5 minute trailer for Breath of the Wild, and that lit the world on fire. Like, easily.
I was like, oh my god, because was it 2015 where they barely teased, like, an image of Breath of the Wild?
No, I don't even think they talked about it in 2015.
I don't remember.
Because that was in the midst of a series of delays that they had done for the game.
I have no idea. But yeah, 2016 is definitely when it was like, whoa, they care.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, 2016 was very much the blowout. That was at the point where the game had probably already been mostly finished. Like, the physics engine had
Rumors
been
of the
solidified.
NX were swirling.
And everyone was talking about the NX, and Nintendo came out. They were like, hey, but this is before E3 2016. Nintendo was like, we are going to release Breath of the Wild simultaneously with the... Or, not, they didn't say simultaneously, but they said it will be on the NX and the Wii U, and the NX is coming out next March. We are not going to talk about anything but Breath of the Wild at this E3. So, like, it was kind of crazy. Like, it was kind of like a really risky play by Nintendo, which ended up paying super hard the next year.
Oh, man.
But people were like, oh my gosh, they're not going to talk about the NX, which people are like... Fans and analysts were like, they need to save their sort of console business. Like, the 3DS was doing fine, sure, but the Wii U, you know, by any metric, it tanked. And it didn't get any of the third-party support it wanted. The install base wasn't that huge. People bought, you know, millions of copies of Mario Kart and Smash, because of course they did. But other than that, you know, fans like me were like, oh man, what are they going to do to turn this around? So, Breath of the Wild came out in 2017. It was amazing. And then you get to E3 2017. When they showed off, like, it was kind of like, I said this to Sarah earlier tonight, I was like, E3 2017 for Nintendo was like a unicorn year, because unicorns don't exist.
Yeah,
like,
so
like, it just doesn't happen.
Just reading our notes here, we literally wrote it as, review of the absolute unicorn god tier will never happen again, 2017.
Because it won't, like, here's the thing, after the Switch had just come out, Nintendo was very much in this mindset of, like, everything they did, they wanted to dazzle. So, like,
and it worked.
And it worked. Yeah, like, E3 2017 came around, and, like, they showed off...
Splatoon 2.
Splatoon 2, they were like, Ishihara from Pokemon Company was like, hey, guess what? New console Pokemon game. We don't have anything to say right now, but it's coming.
Though.
Yeah. And so 2 years later, we finally see Sword and Shield, and, like, that's what he was referencing.
You might have been referencing Let's Go, too.
Probably both.
But also, Mario Odyssey was the big player that year.
And then Mario Odyssey had a big showing, and, I mean, you heard Jump Up Superstar, and all you can think is, like, Nintendo's king again. Like, right now.
This was after Breath of the Wild moved so many units.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Switch sold, like, 3-4 million units at launch, which, you know, a lot of times consoles can... Even the Wii U sold pretty well at launch. But then Nintendo was like, no, this momentum, we are riding throughout the whole year.
Yeah.
So, like, you get to E3, and they're like, hey, Mario Odyssey is the next big thing you can be hype about. It was an amazing E3 presentation overall. They showed off so much to be excited about.
Yeah, 2017 was lit, and it was the best. And then 2018 was not bad. It was good.
2018 was bad if you don't love Smash.
That's
but
true.
Who doesn't love Smash?
But I mean, again, like you just said.
Yeah.
Like, how many units did Smash move?
Probably a ton. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But yeah, I mean, like, it was interesting. In 2016, Breath of the Wild, that was 3.5 minutes. 2017, I'm pretty sure, was like 25 minutes. Last year, 2018, I think it was like 30 minutes, and then the last 15 was all Smash.
Because it was just like, everybody was here. That was a big tagline.
Yeah, and that's when they had that big reveal. Because, like, it's funny, because, like, at that moment, we're like, oh, who are they going to bring back? Who are going to be the new characters? It's like, okay, they see Snake. You're like, oh my god, they brought Snake back. I can't believe it. And then all of a sudden, you're like, wait a second. No, everyone is here. They actually are doing this. It's insane. Anyway, so that was really amazing. Smash Ultimate eventually came out last December. It's amazing. If you're listening to this and you haven't played it, what's wrong with you? Go play Smash Ultimate.
Go buy a Switch right now. Yeah. And Nintendo, when they buy the Switch, we deserve that commission money. Yeah,
dude. Real talk. Side thing. I've gotten quite a few of my friends to buy Switches.
Mail them a check, Nintendo. Come on.
Yeah, I'm saying. Like, I remember when the Switch first came out, Sarah and I went to Waffle House. And the waitress, I was like, I couldn't help but bring my Switch everywhere. So we were like playing Breath of the Wild. Danny. Yeah, I'm that guy. But we were playing Breath of the Wild at the table, and we were just like in awe. And the waitress comes up, and she's like, "What is that?" I'm like, it's the new Nintendo system, the Switch. The next week I come back, we go to Waffle House like the next Saturday or something, and she's like, "Hey, I ended up buying a Switch."
Jeez, Danny, how did you get a Waffle House employee to buy a Switch?
I'm just saying, man. If I could do that, Nintendo should hire me. But so 2018 was cool. Smash was really cool. They didn't really announce that many games that we didn't know about last year at 2018, but
they had that big blowout the next couple months.
Yeah, so we got to September. We can fast forward to September when they announced a lot of the stuff that we're focusing on now. So let's kind of bundle this together.
Okay, yeah.
In the last couple directs, the games that we're focusing on now that are on our sort of radar, they've announced Animal Crossing and Luigi's Mansion 3. Those are huge.
Those are very big games. Oh, last year they announced Town? By game?
That was at the September direct, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, September.
So that's when they announced Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion Town. And then the other ones we will touch on, Fire Emblem, Mario Maker. They've got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's kind of go in order of when the games
are going to come out.
Yeah, or how much we know about them, rather. So starting with Mario Maker 2, we already talked a little bit in our last part about how there will be the Invitational. It's really a known entity. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see a new feature or two, but as far as the actual E3 presentation next week, they just gotta show us a little bit. Maybe show us a new style of gameplay or something, and I hope they don't spend too much time, because I'm already gonna be there day one.
The thing is, if they do dedicate a significant portion to it, I'm gonna be like, why? Because you pretty much told me everything you need to tell me at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone is already sold
Story
Mario
mode,
Maker 2.
That's cool.
Story mode's really cool. Yeah, I think it looks awesome. I love the idea of a kingdom builder. And also, dude, the fact that it has a story mode, the fact that there's 100 levels of Mario levels that are designed by Nintendo, this is essentially a new 2D Mario game, as well as the Mario Maker.
Just in a different packaging.
And I'm just I would have bought that on its own with no Maker functionality. Okay, yeah, 100.
But we have Maker functionality that's even better than Mario Maker 1. What do you know?
It's amazing. So I'm really excited about Mario Maker 2. I'm going to be there day one on June 28th for the release.
Plus, the challenge mode and stuff. There's a lot there that we already know.
For sure.
It's very good. I want it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much that I can personally say. It sucks that you and I aren't going to be able to play together online, because Nintendo's being an idiot about that.
I don't understand that. That's the one gripe that I have with this game, which is...
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Just make it be online too, Nintendo. Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, because, Sarah and I, we can sit together at home, we can make stages together, we can play through the levels together. Why can't I do it with my friends online? There is no way that you can convince me that leaderboards are a good reason, because I think anyone would rather not have leaderboards at all and just play with your friends,
Yeah,
so
give me the option to play with friends. I mean, whatever, some people are competitive, I don't know.
So the next thing that is coming out that we also know a lot about, at the end of July, we get Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
That's some Mo Baby stuff right there.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. The first reveal trailer was last year at 2018, and that was huge for me. It was probably the highlight other than Smash last year for me. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of those things too. We don't really know much about the story. Right now, all we really know is there's a cult, and you have sort of the three different kingdoms that are sort of in alliance with each other, that they have the school, and this sort of a slice of life mechanic that it harkens back to games like Persona.
I gotta learn from my senpais at my academy.
I mean, hey, and you can train your students, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of dating goodness, because that kind of drew in a lot of the sort of new fan base.
That is kind of a big deal, where you and I are both similar here, so the last two Fire Emblems that came out, the big ones at least, were Fates. Then after that was Echoes. We definitely want less of Fates and more of Echoes.
Totally agreed.
Yeah.
And Echoes is interesting, because it's a remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden, which... Before Echoes came out, Gaiden was one of my least favorite games to revisit. I just thought it really did not age well, because it's an early NES game.
It's hard, isn't it?
It's hard. It's old school Nintendo hard.
Mother 1 hard?
Yeah, like it's just like it's not fun to play kind of hard, you know?
Yeah.
But no, Echoes, it's fascinating because they had remade the first Fire Emblem game, Shadow Dragon, on the DS, which was Marth's game, and they released that in like, I don't know, 2010 or something like that. And it was interesting because that remake kind of sucked. Like, as a remake, they literally just put a new coat of paint on it, and it kind of like had a dull visual aesthetic, and they didn't update it that much. Now, I'm being a little overly critical. A lot of people, that was like their introduction to Fire Emblem, or they were really excited for Marth's game, so whatever. But it didn't include a lot of what had made Fire Emblem great since the early days. And now Echoes included everything that's made Fire Emblem great since the early days. Like, you have this amazing soundtrack that the NES game already had good music, but they brought it to life and added like 3 times the amount of music.
Yeah. I haven't finished Echoes, but it's so good. The music, especially when you first play Chapter 2, Celica's, oh my god, that music's fire.
It's so good, and like if you listen to the original and compare it to like the remake, it's just like, wow, the way that they reorchestrated this. It's one of my favorite game soundtracks of the last couple years. And Echoes is a game a lot of people slept on. So again, if you are listening to this and you haven't picked up Echoes, but you like
what are
Fire
you doing?
Go buy Echoes.
Chop chop, let's go.
Yeah, if you're excited for Three Houses and want something to tide you over, you got to play Echoes.
Yeah.
So Three Houses, I'm excited about. The only thing I really could go for, tell us what the overarching like problem is with the world.
Yeah, they don't really, like you said, there's no story beats. Like, we know nothing.
Yeah, we kind of have like basic sort of background stuff, and I've seen a lot of Famitsu articles that come out about like a black knight who goes around stalking the streets or whatever, and like an evil cult. But I want to see like what's the force we're up against, because my favorite Fire Emblem games are when you're handling these larger than life situations with your army and going to war against these giant kingdoms or fighting against these gods. And I just kind of want to know what I'm in for next month with Three Houses.
Yeah.
That's about it.
I mean, your favorite is 6, yeah?
It's like a sentimental favorite, because to be honest, I think Echoes might have been some of the most fun I've ever had playing a Fire Emblem game in my life. But that being said, dude, it's kind of like when you ask me to pick my favorite Zelda. Like, I'm immediately like, okay, Fire Emblem. I love 6. I love Radiant Dawn. I love Path of Radiance. I love Echoes. Awakening is amazing. So my brain kind of goes all over the place. And I'm like, they're all my favorite.
You know, it's interesting because I believe you equated it to picking children, picking your favorite kid.
Kinda.
And maybe I'm just gonna be a bad parent, but I can very easily pick my favorite kid out of Zelda.
Who's your favorite kid out of Zelda?
Link to the Past.
Oh, okay. Well, out of Zelda, Link's Awakening is my favorite child, but that's a very sentimental thing. Like,
I mean, that's fair, dude.
Yeah. Like, I won't sit here and be like, Link's Awakening is secretly the best game in all of Zelda, and you're wrong if you don't agree with me.
I'm Ego Raptor right now. Look, Link to the Past is the best, and Ocarina of Time is shit because the camera's bad.
Hey man, that's just your opinion, and it's a bad one.
It's a game theory. Anyway, okay, so the next one that's coming out after that we don't really know much about, Astral Chain.
I was really surprised when we saw Astral Chain in the February Direct, because it's basically just like a platinum sort of successor to the style of game that Nier was. And I never would have expected that as an exclusive for the Switch.
Yeah, that's a very interesting... I like the direction. As someone who has never even, like, touched Nier, I'm still kind of like, I'm all for this, because I like diversity, especially on the Switch.
Yeah.
I need to see more.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I need to see more too, but I just know that Nintendo getting an exclusive like this is huge. The gameplay already looks like something I would enjoy. Platinum games, I have played some. They're always fun.
Yeah, they make good games. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so I'm excited about Astral Chain. And really, again, just like you said, let's just see more. This game's coming out in August. It was kind of surprising that they announced
so weird.
Right when they
That's
revealed
2 months,
the game.
Dude.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, they announced in February with the initial reveal, hey, this game's coming out on August 30th. So
maybe they'll push it back, to be fair. We don't know yet.
They could, but we'll find out next week if that's the case. And really, I just want to see, everything. Show us what's the hook for this game, What sets us apart from other action RPGs. Like, we can infer a lot from the original trailer, but, just show us. Just kind of have a good reveal. I'd love to see the developers talking about it, like in a classic Nintendo Direct style. All that would be cool. Mm-hmm. Now, what I'm less excited for, I was really excited for Daemon X Machina last year, when they first showed it off at E3. I thought it looked like a really cool sort of mech fighting game, and I loved the treehouse gameplay that they showed off. But man, when the demo came out a couple months ago, I'm just gonna be real.
It wasn't very fun.
I didn't find it fun to play. And that could just be me. It might be more sort of like a calculated experience. For me, like when I saw that trailer, I was like, I want to be in a badass robot just going around shooting stuff and having fun and looking all awesome, but like I felt like it was super clunky and slow personally.
I mean, yeah, I didn't have fun with it either. It's by Marvelous, so maybe they just need to stick to farm games.
I mean, hey, you know, you and I both love ourselves a good Marvelous farm game, so... Oh, one thing real quick while we're on the subject
Factory,
of
dude.
Marvelous. Yeah, I completely forgot about this. They're developing the remake of Rune Factory 4.
It's kind of because it's nothing new yet. Like, they're adding a little bit to 4 and they're releasing that on Switch, and we don't know anything about 5, but 5 is confirmed, so that's nice.
The fact that 5 exists is so huge, because Rune Factory died, or the Marvelous died. We were told it's over. They are not going to make any more because Marvelous went bankrupt. I don't really know what happened, but when they came out in the February Direct and they're like, yeah, we got Rune Factory 4 remake coming to Switch, and then Rune Factory 5 with like a 2020 estimated release.
Oh, man.
So
That was lit.
actually, now I'm going to say this right now. I would love to see Rune Factory 5 on Tuesday.
I don't think they have enough to show. I feel like they would have showed something if they had anything.
Sure, and you're probably right.
I'll be interested to see what they're adding to 4. I probably won't pick it up because I have 4. I don't think they can convince me to rebuy it for like a little bit of extra stuff.
Right.
But we'll see. If they add a lot, I'll buy it.
I'll probably get it, even though I can actually see my copy of Rune Factory 4 right now on 3DS. I love that game. I never beat it, so I'll probably use the Switch version as sort of like momentum to beat it. And then, because I have beaten most of the other games in the Rune Factory series. But yeah, Rune Factory 5, so hyped for that. I would really love, if we do see it next week, I have a hope for Rune Factory 5 that's kind of like what they did with Pokemon. I would love sort of a more console Rune Factory experience, like what they did with Rune Factory Frontier and Tides of Destiny.
I did hear that it's good.
The 2 console Rune Factory games before are probably my favorites in the series, and I love the fixed perspective handheld ones. But
kind of talking as a segue really quickly about game dev studios being out of their element, Town by Game Freak will probably say something.
yeah, you know, this is one that I'm not like hyped for, but it's kind of like...
What did your fiance say? That was really funny.
So when this got announced in the September Direct, Sarah just immediately goes, Game Freak, what are you doing? Get back in the kitchen and make me a Pokemon.
I mean, dude, she's right. That's the thing. It's like I just kind of made a joke about how Marvelous, hey, stick to farm games. It's like, dude, Game Freak, what are you doing?
Well, you know, and Game Freak is kind of interesting.
What, they make Drill Dozer? That's the only thing I know that they make.
They make a lot.
They do?
And it's interesting because the way that Game Freak works, it's not a subsidiary of Nintendo. Pokemon Company is a joint venture between Creatures Inc., Nintendo, and Game Freak, and they're all stockholders in that.
Wait, Game Freak isn't second party?
It's not, no. So it's kind of interesting, right?
Whoa.
So Game Freak and Nintendo have this joint venture, which is the Pokemon Company, and that is sort of how they both have ownership of the brand.
Bureaucracy's weird.
It's interesting. So, but Game Freak itself is as its own game developer. So they released a game recently, I think, called Giga Wrecker. It was on PS4 and PC, and I think it was on Switch too. They had a game a couple years ago, Tembo the Badass Elephant. So Game Freak has kind of an interesting thing where they have sort of a lot of young blood come in, and they kind of assign them basically like school projects. They're like, hey, you know, develop a game and have it out, and, you know, so you have an idea, come up with a game and just make it, and we'll kind of, whatever.
Why can't I have this kind of thing in my university?
It's interesting, yeah, and I kind of like that idea. So they get a lot of those weird experimental games. If you go through a list of Game Freak games, everything that's not a Pokemon game is probably somewhere in that kind of area. So I don't know what to expect from Town. I mean, I'm interested because it's Game Freak, and you and I, we're both into sort of like town building, sort of life simulation
I'll
games.
give it a shot. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I know we're making fun of it because Game Freak and Pokemon, but if it's compelling, man, I love me a good RPG, especially like you said, town building, community building, even farm building. Like Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, up my alley. I love those kind of games.
Yeah, and for me, I love those, and I also love Rune Factory, which has like more fantasy elements. So I'm totally into Town so far, just based on the initial concept we saw. But yeah, I hope we see more of it next week, for sure.
Okay, so now we're getting to some big heavy hitters.
Okay, so I think let's talk about what is arguably the biggest game that everyone is anticipating right now, and that is Animal Crossing for the Switch.
Yes, absolutely. I am so happy. This is the game for me.
Would you say that it's your number one thing that you're excited about?
Yeah, I would say so, because the thing with Pokemon, as much as I love Pokemon, I know there's going to be a new Pokemon game. Like, I know that's a given. I know it's going to come out.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's just a thing. Like, maybe you might not get a Pokemon game one year, but then you'll get one the next year.
Right.
It's so common. Animal Crossing, we've been dry. In North America, in Japan, it's been since 2012. In North America, 2013 was New Leaf. That's 6 years, man.
It's crazy. And you know, it's interesting because, like, part of me is like, well, you know, there's not that much you can do to, like, really, like, evolve Animal Crossing. So it's like, New Leaf was kind of, like, to me, the perfect game for, like, so long. Kind of, like, perfected a lot of what Animal Crossing had done. That being said, you get the Switch, and the first thing you think, or one of the first things you think is, I want to play Animal Crossing on this thing.
Of course. I mean, the trend of Animal Crossing, since it's come out, is always, of course, more options. So, more fish, more bugs, more museum stuff, more events, whatever, stuff like that.
You and I both really, I think, both of us enjoyed the take on being the mayor of the town in New Leaf and what that did for the gameplay. So, my opinion is, even if you're not the mayor, I don't want any of those features to go away, you know?
Okay, so my opinion is you need to keep those elements, and if you're going to keep those elements, you need to have a reason. You need to have a logic behind the gameplay. It can't just be, I'm just a villager, but I can do this because...
Sure, yeah. Like, maybe Isabel's the mayor, and you're, like, her assistant, and you kind of, like, are advisor or something like that.
I don't know, man. That'd be a step down. That'd be
It's true. So, like, to be honest, they probably should just keep you as the mayor. I'm sure that's what most people would love.
Dude, I'm governor now. Dude, I'm president of the land.
I'll be president of the Animal Crossing world, and I still
We're gonna build a wall.
Freaking Tom Nook.
We're gonna build a wall to keep the Tanookies out.
I don't want to hear that. Oh no! Oh man, Tom Nook is a bad man.
They're not sending the good Tanookies.
They're only sending the. Okay, we need to get off this.
I'm sorry if that was traumatizing.
No,
I really should not.
That's terrible.
Whatever.
So, anyways,
we don't know anything about it.
We literally don't know anything.
You know what we know about it? Tom Nook talked to us in a trailer.
Even in that little trailer at the bottom, it's like not actual gameplay footage.
Yeah, they're very clear. So here's the thing. Here's a very big kind of worry in the Animal Crossing community, which is they're not going to release it this year because we know nothing.
It's possible.
They've shown nothing.
I can't say it's not possible, but what I will say is that it does not necessarily mean that it's getting
Of course
delayed.
not. I mean, like we've seen before, they can talk about a game and then it'll be out not even a few months later.
Yeah, I mean, like, that happened with Breath of the Wild. Like, they didn't tell us when it would come out. They said 2017, and then less than 2 months before it came out with the Switch, it was like, hey, March 3rd, this is coming out.
Yeah, of course. Okay. And then, even last year with Smash, sure, Smash got teased in April, and then we finally got it. It got teased in April, and then 8 months later, it's on being released.
Exactly. So, like, I see the worry, and I empathize.
Especially because it's been 6 years. That's another big thing.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't see why they would have to delay an Animal Crossing game, personally.
So here's the thing. If they delay it, that means, A, they did not develop it when they announced it, or B, it's so ambitious that they don't have enough time.
So, when do you think this game will come out?
Okay, so my personal guess about Animal Crossing is probably September.
I think it could fit there, and
because you kind of need to spread out the titles.
Yeah. Well, and we know that Pokemon's coming out in November, so like
that's been confirmed. Yes.
That month. And then the next game, which I'm pretty sure will come out in October. Let's talk about this now. Luigi's Mansion 3 would be perfect for October because it's like a Halloween game.
Dude, I'm ready. I'm ready for the ghosts and the ghouls.
Yeah. So. I love the first game. I haven't beaten the second game yet, but I really enjoyed that.
I haven't played the
too.
second much. I definitely have played a little bit. I've beaten the first one. I've gotten an A-rank house on the first one.
I beat it for the first time when the 3DS version came out last October, and I fell in love with it. I beat the whole thing in one day.
Yeah, I mean, it's a short game. It's like a 5-hour game.
Yeah. I played the whole thing in one sitting, and I loved it. I totally saw what the hype was about.
It's interesting because, kind of not to derail us totally, but I bought it when I first got a GameCube. Like, that was one of the first things I got for it. And as a little kid, you're kind of like, I feel a little gypped here.
Interesting. Yeah, so I had it too. When I got a GameCube on, like, my birthday when I was, I guess, in first grade or something, got a GameCube and Luigi's Mansion. And I was like, and Rogue Squadron. That was really cool too.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that was cool stuff. But I remember when I first played Luigi's Mansion 1, I didn't necessarily feel gypped, but I did feel like...
Is that offensive?
Oh, I don't know. I ripped
gypsies?
off.
Yeah, ripped off.
Let me restate that. I didn't necessarily feel ripped off, but like I do remember feeling like I don't know how to progress in this game. I don't really know if this is fun. I just played Mario 64 for like the last year, and like that was amazing. This is nothing like that. So I was kind of over it really quickly. It took me many years until I could actually appreciate
I remember you being
game.
Very into it the next time around, though.
Yeah. I mean, it took me like 15 years to give it a proper revisit.
You got there.
Yeah, I got there. And Luigi's Mansion 2, I haven't beaten yet. Here's my thing. This is the big thing for me when it comes to Luigi's Mansion 3 and what they could show next week.
I'm ready.
In Luigi's Mansion 2, they do a mission structure.
Oh, I see what you're going.
There's like 4 or 5 mansions, which is cool in and of itself, and they're connected.
It's very different gameplay-wise, and like.
But you have to do these missions, so like constantly you're going in, you're doing a mission, then all of a sudden you're da 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 da, and then EGAD calls you on his phone, and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna pull you out now. You finish your mission," and you just leave. And it's like, I hated that because it was like constantly stop and go.
Yeah, I agree. I want more of one in that sense, where it's kind of like this big overarching thing.
And I think because the Switch is, you know, both a home console and a handheld, they don't have to make it, because the 3DS, I can kind of get it. You know, it's a handheld thing, you want short play sessions, so mission structure kind of makes sense. Mm-hmm. But you can combine a fully explorable mansion and missions in Luigi's Mansion 3, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can agree with that. They can work in harmony. I would prefer if they leaned on one, and they kind of threw in 2 once in a while, like the gameplay styles.
Sure, yeah. What I would personally find ideal is you can go through the entire mansion, but you do have missions. So, like, you go and do those
like
missions.
Optional missions, maybe?
Or, like, not even, I mean, optional,
like
or, like, side
stuff.
things.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And, like, when you finish those missions, you're like, okay, well, I can go back now, or I can press on and go do the next mission right now if I wanted to. Like, you don't always have to go back to EGAD, and he'll give you a progress update, and then you get sucked back in, and then go back out. Like, to me, that's the part that I hated. You know, like, as long as I can kind of have some sort of fluidity with the gameplay, that would be great.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. The original reveal trailer I thought was really, really solid. They just got to show us kind of like a real proper reveal for this E3, I think.
They do. And once we know more about it, we can say more.
Yeah. We're excited. That's about it. So October release for that I think would be great.
Then obviously we have Pokemon confirmed for November. We
Pokemon
touched
for
on
November.
That. We think it's bomb, and I'm ready.
I am so ready. So I think the last major game that we know about from Nintendo that we can talk about is the remake of my personal favorite Zelda game, Link's Awakening. Have you ever played the original?
Of course. It's one of my favorites, actually.
I love that game so much. It's so quirky and fun.
It's so weird. I remember having distinct memories of being in like car rides and like playing it on the Game Boy.
Oh yeah, back when you could barely see that.
Oh
stuff.
God, dude, I had the freaking light that attaches to. Oh God.
Yeah, me too.
So bad.
It was interesting. The way I kind of remember my childhood is that my parents would always get my brother and sister like Pokemon Gold and Silver, for example, and my parents, they don't really get games, so like they didn't really know like I couldn't play those cartridges, so I didn't end up playing Pokemon till later. But I remember Mario and Diana, my brother and sister, had Oracle of Ages and Seasons. I think Diana had Seasons and Mario had Ages. I could be wrong. But then I had Link's Awakening, and that was kind of like my game. And I remember playing it, and it was so different from what they were doing. And, like, their games connected, but mine didn't. And it kind of had this totally different feel and vibe. And as a kid, I had no idea that it was a game that was, like, 5 years older or anything
yeah,
like
of course.
that. I was just playing a game. So I played Link's Awakening DX, and I always loved it. I thought it was so good. I have so many fond memories of... I mean, to me, that's my first 2D Zelda game, pretty much.
Oh, yeah. No, that was mine, too. I mean, yeah, of course, because I don't think I played Link to the Past before I played Link's Awakening.
I didn't get to Link to the Past until it came out on the GBA a couple years later.
I played it on a SNES, but I definitely did not play it before. Yeah, Link's Awakening was, yeah.
Link's Awakening kind of like... Because, I mean, Ocarina of Time solidified my eternal lifelong love of 3D Zelda, but Link's Awakening made me just an all-around Zelda fan when it comes to any style. And so, I'm excited. Here's the thing, though. As far as what they show next week, you know, like, I know everything that happens in Link's Awakening front and back.
Of course.
So it's like... I'd be happy to see, like, new areas they didn't show in the first trailer or anything like that, but, like, I don't need them to show me much.
This is where maybe I come in as not exactly a stan of Link's Awakening like you are.
Sure.
I definitely love it. I would probably put it top 5, possibly top 3. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to really think about it.
Right.
I don't think I'm going to get this one, to be honest. I don't know if I will, at least initially, for how much it sells for.
Because of, like, the fact that you don't feel like it'll offer anything new?
So, it depends on their price point. If they sell for $60, probably not, unless there's significant new stuff.
Right.
If there's significant new stuff and it's $40 or $60, I'll do it. If it's not significant, then significant's vague and, I am whatever.
Sure.
But when I say significant, I mean... Link's Awakening as a Game Boy game is what, a 15-20 hour game tops?
Something like that. And if you complete it, probably like 25, yeah.
15-20 hour game, especially because we already kind of know what to do.
Right.
So when you get down to that, when I say significant add-ons, I mean like double the playtime, probably. Like I need a lot of game.
You know what they could do that would be really exciting? And if they did this, I think you'd have to get it.
What?
If they added a bunch of side quests. That would be really cool.
When you say adding side quests, what do you mean?
Zelda side quests. Like, you know, you have characters that go through these little arcs and you do multiple side quests with them. Like, that's like a traditional
I mean, of course.
Zelda
I mean,
side
then
quest.
every side quest would probably add on an hour or two.
But yeah, you know, so to me, here's what we know is going to be new about it. Because just by nature of it being an HD remake on a console, it's going to have fluid cameras. So, like, it's not going to have sectioned off tiles or anything like that. It'll be sort of one connected big world. And then you'll be able to have all the different items connected at once or equipped at once. So that'll be really cool. I can totally respect if you don't personally feel like you need to buy it or whatever. Here's my thing. I was mad back in the day with Ocarina of Time 3D that it didn't add anything new, and I still bought that. So, like, I'm gonna be... And plus, Link's Awakening
I mean,
is like...
I'm not disparaging anybody that wants to get it. Especially because
Yeah,
Link's
for sure.
Awakening, here's the thing. That's a good title to remake because as much as people who have played it liked it, I don't think a lot of people have played it. I think that's one of the, like, more under-the-radar Zeldas.
Totally, yeah. It is really one of those games that a lot of people either slept on or they didn't get into gaming by the time it was big.
It's just like, why would you want to play a Game Boy Color Zelda when you can play Ocarina of Time?
Of course, yeah, which I get that. But yeah, so I mean, like, I think that this will definitely sell well. As far as the price point, I'm gonna say probably $60, only because it's kind of like that Disney/Nintendo thing of, like, they can sell it at full price
they will.
and still sell, so they will. Yeah, like, I'm not saying I want them to do that.
That's a discussion for a different video, but
For sure.
at the same time, we both are in agreement where it's like, price point with games is kind of messy because
Yeah.
like you can't compare value between games, especially because genres and stuff like that separate it. And
Right.
as little time as you can't equate gameplay time either, because I could be significantly satisfied with a 15-hour game and not feel good about like playing 30 hours.
Sure, yeah, of course. And, like, but at the end of the day, like, if you're like, you know, I don't think this will be worth $60.
No,
to
of
me,
course, like
someone who already loves
that
it,
is your
that's
call.
Whatever.
Like that's subjective.
But for me, this is probably my most anticipated game next week. Like, to be honest, like, just a little bit over Animal Crossing, only because Link's Awakening is so huge. I'm gonna be real, I cried when this remake got revealed because it just looks so beautiful, and they had the remix of Ballad of the Windfish they showed off. Oh my god, that's another thing. Reorchestrated music from a game that has one of my favorite all-time Zelda soundtracks. Oh,
It's like a foregone conclusion you're gonna get this.
I am easily the target audience for this game.
Yeah, dude, like, you're the one where they're like, we don't even need to... They could have just announced it and you would have bought it. You don't need to see anything else. Like, right now, like, we don't know anything. You'll buy it.
If they sell like $100 collector's edition and you can get like a big old egg, I'm gonna buy that egg. I want it so bad.
What if they sell one with, like plushies and, like, it's like
Dude,
$250?
I'm gonna buy it all. Are you kidding?
Oh, okay,
Like,
I got you.
When it comes to a game that, like, I'm this hype about, there's no threshold for that. I will just buy it.
That actually brings up an interesting question for me is, I love Animal Crossing. If they sell a collector's edition, what would they put in it and would I get it?
I can't imagine an Animal Crossing collector's edition, honestly, at all.
They sell you a plant. They're like, hey, here's a bag of roses. Go plant it.
I don't know. I mean, like, maybe not a collector's edition, but I would be down with, like, an Isabelle or KK slider plush or something like
Yeah,
that.
but at that, because the thing with collector's editions is you need more than just like this one little thing. Like I remember
sure,
that was
for
a
sure.
problem with Bethesda like a year ago with Fallout 76. Like they had this gigantic collector's edition and they skimped on like the parts, and like
Right.
people got pissed.
yeah, I heard about that. Well, you know, with Link's Awakening, I mean, if literally all they do is sell, like, a little egg.
I mean, dude, it's Nintendo. Like they wouldn't mess up quality.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, I want my Windfish egg, and I would spend $100 on that.
Nintendo, are you listening?
Please put an egg in this thing.
Put an egg in it. Actually, put in more because you could easily wring out like $500 if you just included a bunch of
Yeah.
nonsense.
There are a lot of idiots like me who will spend...
I wouldn't even call you idiots,
all
dude.
that.
Like, you just want it. Whatever. Be
We just-
materialistic. It's capitalism.
We want to spend money, a lot of money, on something we love. So, Link's Awakening, yeah, I'm really excited for it. It would be... Here's the thing. One thing I will say about Link's Awakening, maybe one last thing, is just that when they ported it to the Game Boy Color from the original Game Boy, they added a new dungeon. And that wasn't even a full remake. That was just, like, kind of like a port with color.
Yeah, that helps.
So if they did that for the Game Boy Color port, added a whole new dungeon, a really cool dungeon, I might add, they gotta do something similar for the remake, right?
It's going to be the same studio. Well, it's Nintendo R&D, right?
I believe it's R&D one, yeah.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
I mean, they have to have... See, here's the thing. They could easily get away with not doing it. Easily. They could easily just
Right.
be like, we're just remaking it, and like they could also do the DLC route, which I would not buy in that case. Unless, like I said, if Nintendo comes out, they're like, we're selling this for $30-$40, and then we'll have like another half of a game, and we'll sell that for $20. I'll buy it.
I don't know, like, it's interesting because, like, of course my gut reaction is like, that would never happen. But then you have Breath of the Wild DLC, which
of course, and I mean, like, the thing is, we didn't get that with Odyssey, though.
Okay, so we'll get to that in a second. Hold that thought. One last thing I just want to say about the Zelda DLC thing. For me, I'm totally for it because, like, Breath of the Wild, they had just spent the last 5 years, like, building this, like, really intense, heavy game, right? So it's like, okay, yeah, I can totally see them wanting to monetize it more, and we benefit because they develop more stuff, we can get more content. I was able to, like, triple the length of my playthrough of Breath of the Wild with all the extra DLC. So it was a good value for me. Link's Awakening, I don't see it as something that I could really get behind. Like, don't get me wrong, I'd buy it if it were a thing. But, like, it's kind of like, this is a remake of a game that's already a fully known entity. They don't have to design any of the dungeons or anything like that. So it's like, if they're going to add something new, that should be in the base game, in my opinion.
So yeah, I see it as two options, which is, one is, of course, sell it at full price, like a $60 game, and have the extra stuff. I could also see sell it at like half price, like a $30 game for just like the remake, because then because the thing is, that's a little more savvy in my opinion, because then you could, people who just want the remake, there might be some people like that, and then you could get more people into it if it's like, here it's for less and you don't have to buy the new stuff if you don't want it. Right. If they sell it at a $60 price point and then put on DLC, I would be kind of miffed.
Well, I don't know, man. You know, I'm going to expect, like, what I see as, like, the worst outcome, quote unquote,
which
worst.
is just, it's just remade and that's it, and it's $60.
It's remade and it's $60. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to expect. Anything better than that or more than that, I'll be through the roof. Like, literally, if they're like, there's like one new thing to do, I'm gonna be like, oh my God! You
can put sunglasses on.
I'm gonna be like, they added a feature to Link's Awakening. Oh my God! I'm gonna go crazy no matter what. So that's hype. Now, backing up a little bit to one thing you mentioned, the lack of Mario Odyssey DLC. To me, that means that there's a sequel to that game coming, and it's coming soon. What do you think?
I think that it's a given, especially because Galaxy and Galaxy 2 were a thing.
So, by the way, we are now firmly past all of the stuff we know about.
Oh, this is pure speculation time. If you don't want to hear about the musings of two idiots that don't really know anything about Nintendo besides what they sell us, you don't have to listen.
Yeah. We're in prediction territory now. So what do you think about Odyssey 2?
I think Odyssey 2 is a given.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily something that they might show off this year because they have such big hitters this year.
Right.
They might tease it towards the end of the year. I think that could be a possibility. I don't think we'll see anything E3 for it, especially because Odyssey was not even 2 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Because when did Galaxy come out? When did Galaxy 2 come out?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I think it was like 2007 and then 2010. So like a 3-year.
Yeah, so that's probably ideal because you give enough time for the first one to like get its footing. And another reason why I think it's a given is, like you said, Odyssey kind of was perfect for what we called Kingdom DLC. We were kind of hoping for it. We were like, are they going to like throw in Delfino Plaza as like an extra?
Right.
They didn't, obviously. So again, there's so much you could do with like a sequel.
Well, here's what I find fascinating on that note. The story goes, Galaxy 1 came out, and around that time, 2007, DLC was kind of an up-and-coming trend in gaming. So basically they asked in an interview, like Miyamoto and Koizumi, I guess, they were like, hey, are you guys going to consider DLC for Mario Galaxy? And they were like, if we have enough ideas, we could consider something like that, but we don't really see that as a plan right now. And then a couple years later, you see Galaxy 2, and it's like, we had too many ideas.
It was DLC, but just a whole new game because there was so much of it.
So, like, I don't think there is a single person on Earth who played Odyssey who would not be okay with just playing a full new game in the same style.
Pretty much. Like, it was such a banger that it's like, why not? just make another of that and we will be happy, especially because they'll be more familiar with the Switch dev-wise.
So we both agree that it'll probably happen, but not necessarily that it could happen this year.
The most I could see happening is a thing where it's like, you know how they announce, like what they did with Animal Crossing. Towards the end of the year, be like, it exists.
Yeah, I mean, like, even just showing us, like, a new game in the style of Mario Odyssey, you still have Cappy, and, like, you're just in a kingdom we've never seen before, and they're like, coming 2020, or something like that. I'd be like,
we would eat it up, and I would be ready, because Odyssey is my favorite Mario game.
So, on that same note, they gotta use the same engine that they built for Breath of the Wild again. There's no question. They're going to do that with the next major Zelda game. Do you think that is anywhere in the foreseeable future?
Let's see. Maybe. See, here's the thing.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. This one's way harder to call, in my opinion, because Mario is Mario, and it's so consistent. At least Sandbox Mario. Like, of course, there's new mechanics. Of course, you know, you need new ways to kind of get to the gameplay. But once you're in the gameplay, it's Sandbox Mario. Zelda is so different every time.
Yeah.
Like, look at Breath of the Wild. The one before that was Skyward Sword, completely different game. Then look at Twilight Princess, another completely different game.
Right. For sure.
So you can look at the engine and be like, they should use the same engine, but will it be the same? I don't know.
Sure, yeah. And, you know, it's interesting to me because, kind of like you just said, the formula for a successful, fun Mario game is pretty consistent. For Zelda, they always are rethinking the conventions of the series. So it's like, I mean, that being said, after Breath of the Wild came out, I know Aonuma was saying, we can't really go back. Like, we have to do another game like this again. Like, they were basically saying, like, the open air formula had to be in the series future.
I can agree with that, because the thing with Breath of the Wild that kind of really blew me away is that, with open world in general, I guess, but with Zelda tacked onto it, is that it just feels like I'm not playing a game. I'm playing an extension of myself in a game.
Yeah, I mean, what an amazing
I feel like I have
choices.
choices.
It's true.
I feel like I can just do whatever I want, which you can.
Yeah, and I agree. So, like, I don't know. I think, here's what I would, like, personally love. I would love sort of like a Majora's Mask-esque follow-up to Breath of the Wild. Now, when I say Majora's Mask, I mean use the same engine, a lot of the same assets, and just make it weird as hell. Like, really,
so
really
when
weird.
you say make it weird as hell, when you say a follow-up, rather, you mean take the Link and Zelda from Breath of the Wild and do some weird, wacky shit.
Not necessarily.
Just any Zelda? Like, it could be whatever. It doesn't have to be the same Link and Zelda?
It can be a completely different part of the timeline for all I care, but still an open world, sort of open air, big environment, big world to explore Zelda game with a lot of the same character models, enemy models, stuff like that, in a completely different setting with a different type of narrative and all that stuff. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Another thing I'll say is that I'm not alone. I know a lot of people don't feel this way, but I'm not alone in saying that a lot of people really do love more, like, I don't want to say linear, but like themed Zelda dungeons that have like a fixed story progression to them. Because Breath of the Wild, while I have like very few negative things to say about it, you know, the 4 divine beasts were all kind of like samey in a lot of ways.
I guess this is kind of controversial of me, but I love temples and I love, well, dungeons in general, rather. I'm thinking of temples because of Ocarina of Time.
Right.
I love that concept, but I didn't hate, not that people hated it, but I think I enjoyed the concept of shrines as mini things and then big dungeons and beasts.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would.
And don't get me wrong, I mean, I loved it. I loved all of it. And, like, I loved doing the shrines. I loved all the puzzle solving in the game. I loved the Divine Beast levels as themselves.
You're just saying go for a bigger theme instead of, like, okay, here's this, like, you know, stone tablet ancient weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that could be kind of cool. Like, imagine going to, like, a big, sprawling, expansive, like, water temple, for example. And, like, you can still have a lot of, like, the physics-based puzzles. This is controversial. I think the water temple's fun. Nowadays, with the 3DS version. With the N64 version, I did not think it was fun.
It was not fun.
But with the map on the bottom screen, like, you can do it a lot easier, in my opinion.
What about the Shadow Temple? Anyway.
But yeah, anyway, so, like, I mean, just imagine, like, these big, sprawling, expansive, sort of traditional Zelda dungeons that kind of have all these varying themes. Like, I guess what I'm thinking is, like, what if you, like, just, like, are walking through a mountain area and you happen upon a temple that you had no idea was there? And you just, like, then you go into it, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this dungeon now. And then you find this, like, story thing that's near that dungeon or whatever. It kind of all ties together. Like, that would be really cool to me. I'm just talking, though. I'm going to buy whatever it is. I'm going to get excited about whatever it is. I don't expect it this year, kind of similar to what we said about Final Fantasy in our previous part. They're already going to have a focus on Link's Awakening. If they do show off anything new of Zelda, I think it'll be similar to 2010, when they showed off a picture of Link, and then standing behind him was Fi, and he didn't have a sword on. And that's all they showed for Skyward Sword. So I could see a similar sort of, like, kind of just showing us the basic, like, an image that kind of gives us something to kind of, you know, get excited over, or kind of theorize over, but then otherwise only focusing on Link's Awakening.
Yeah, that could do it. As far as other safe bets, more safer bets rather, they're probably going to announce a Smash DLC fighter.
I think Smash DLC is one of the safest bets for next week overall.
It really should, because the last one was Joker, and that was a couple months ago at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it makes sense. I mean, they said that they want to have all 5 of them out by 2020, early 2020. So you have, like, 7-8 months now to release the last 4. I mean, it's not even a question of if. It's a question of who are they going to show next week. And I don't know. Do you have any, like, people that you're hoping for really bad?
I don't have any big hopes. I know that my biggest probably bet is a Dragon Quest character, because I know that's been like floating around since forever.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
As far as Smash goes, it's like a celebration of gaming. I think like a Dragon Quest protagonist makes sense. For me, my big one that won't happen, that I would just go crazy for, is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. And then one that I think would be really cool, sort of like in like a gaming sense, is Banjo and Kazooie. That'd be really cool.
That would be pretty sweet.
I would love that one.
That would be nice.
And it would be really in line with like Microsoft
Give me
playing
Goku.
next to Nintendo. Hey man, look, if anyone is listening this far and they hear this, you're gonna get mad at us because most people will. Goku would be awesome in Smash.
Okay, here's the thing. Their argument always devolves into anime character, not game. And I'm like, okay, Dragon Ball Z games are huge, dude. I don't care.
I know I have a lot of friends who feel very strongly about this, and that's fine. But like, just know, I totally get what you're saying. Like, you know, it's not in line with what Smash stands for as a franchise, whatever. I get that. I would still be cool with it.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. My opinion is fact. And I think these people need to go back to school.
And yeah, I mean, if you don't know the fact, you gotta go back to school. It's true. So now, a couple other safe bets after the Smash DLC. I think Pikmin 3 Deluxe will come.
That is one of the ones that you champion as this is a Wii U classic.
Yeah, it's one of the last few games on the Wii U that most people don't really know about.
I didn't play it on the Wii U because I didn't own one.
Exactly, yeah. So, like, Pikmin is a great franchise. I've only played 3 all the way through. It's the only one I've beaten. But I absolutely loved it. I think anyone who's enjoyed Pikmin 1 or 2 has to pick up Pikmin 3.
1 is so good, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to play it. I'm excited for it because I love the gameplay style. So, Pikmin 3 Deluxe, I think, will be definitely a when rather than if, and I think it'll be announced next week. That's going to be a solid prediction of mine.
My other safe bet is, I don't know how safe this is, but I think it's safe. SNES Classic Online. They have to, right? They have to.
Dude, here's the thing. We can talk about like how it makes perfect sense, and Nintendo still won't do it because you just can't ever like. Nothing is a safe bet, unfortunately. At the end of the day, when it comes to Nintendo, like even the things that you're sure would happen because it makes too much perfect sense to just do it, they'll just not do it. So like, here's the thing. I think for the money we're paying, the online service as a whole is a good value. That's controversial. And that's okay. I know a lot of people feel very strongly that it's a terrible value. Whatever. I
can sympathize with people who feel that way. I personally don't think it's that big of a deal. Especially if you do a family plan, then it's like you really shouldn't complain.
Yeah. To be fair, to pull back the curtain a bit, Roger and I are paying like $4 on this stuff.
Yeah. So like,
whatever.
And I understand people do not. Maybe you don't have a network of like 8 people. Even if you only had like a few, even if that was like $8 a year,
right?
Like, you know, double mine, whatever. You know?
But like as far as the NES Classic selection is going, so I actually have gotten a lot of mileage out of it. I know a lot of people really haven't touched it because, you know, NES games kind of didn't age super well. I get that. But I have completed Super Mario Bros. 3 and Legend of Zelda 1 and Adventure of Link. I've played all 3 of those games. I put in about 25 hours overall in the NES Classics, just kind of playing all the games. I played a lot of Dr. Mario. I've gotten my mileage out of it. Here's the thing. There's not really anything else they can add. Like,
no, it's done.
They've put in all the big classics.
They put in Punch-Out recently. Not super recently, but I remember like a few months ago, I was like, this is literally the last one I wanted.
Well, dude, they announced June's lineup, and they're all third-party games that they're adding. Like, they've gotten through all the big hitters when it comes to Nintendo Classics. So, like, it does not make sense to me that SNES Classic hasn't already been announced. I think if SNES Classic Online is a thing, and it has a good lineup to start, and is supported well, I think that the narrative around Nintendo Online will start to change. Because a library of SNES games is very different than a library of NES games. Because SNES games age like fine wine, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you like indie games nowadays, where they use like 16-bit artwork and stuff like that, you like SNES games. Like, that's just it.
Exactly. If you love games, and you love like indie games, 16-bit games, stuff like that, and you haven't played Super Mario World or Link to the Past, you owe it to yourself to play those. And hopefully, you'll get to play them on your Switch. But anyway, so SNES Classic Online, hopefully that's a thing next week. If that happens next week, I think that's a big win for Nintendo. A few last little things to talk about. Metroid Prime Trilogy. That's one that everyone had kind of like been rumoring and expecting, but like, I think because Metroid Prime 4, which, by the way, I don't think that'll show up at all.
Oh, no, it won't. It absolutely won't.
Reset it. But because Metroid Prime 4 got rebooted, basically, I think that Metroid Prime trilogy, I'm sure it exists, because it makes so much sense, and they'll want to kind of get a lot of people in to Metroid Prime as a series before they release 4, because Metroid Prime 3 came out in, I think, 2007 or something like that. So it's been a long time, and a lot of people need to kind of replay those first 3 games. I played the first one a lot. I love it. Can't wait to play all 3, and then play the fourth one.
I think it is more likely it gets pushed back, because
I think so too,
you want to build the hype, obviously. I get that.
It makes perfect sense. Now that being said, if it does come out this year, then people have plenty of time to play the first 3 games before 4 comes out, whenever that happens. So then, the last thing I think that we should talk about, do you have any wild predictions for something that we don't know anything about? And no safe bets, anything that you're like, I would love this if this happened.
I don't really have any, personally. The thing is, I know that we've talked about it. The idea that, I know you played this game recently too, Skyward Sword HD. I know people might want that, some people, but the thing is, I don't think it'll happen. I really don't. I don't think it'll even, I don't know if it'll ever get done.
Well, yeah, and it's interesting, because Aonuma, he kind of hinted at it weirdly, but then he kind of said no, that wasn't a real thing. That wasn't a real hint. It was misconstrued, which whatever. But he kind of said he felt weird about remaking it in his own ways, because Breath of the Wild, in a lot of ways, was made in response to a lot of criticisms that Skyward Sword had. And he was like, it just feels weird for me to then make Skyward Sword, and it kind of people might see it as a step back, even though it was the previous game or whatever. But anyway, I love Skyward Sword. I just played through it for the 3rd time. I played the Wii U, not the port, but you can play it on Wii U. I played it on Wii U. And I love that game. Played it with the hero mode, whatever. I don't think they will ever make this game with button controls, just because it just would be a different game. All the puzzles in that game.
It is very centered around the control.
They designed Skyward Sword and Wii Motion Plus side by side. It's just, I can't see the 2 being divorced. So, anyway. So, I think that pretty much wraps up pretty much everything. Oh! I lied. One last thing.
Yeah?
I would love this. This is one that if they announced, it would be out of nowhere, and I would go crazy. I think you'd love it too. Rhythm Heaven for the Switch.
Holy, I would die. Dude, okay, so me and Danny love these games because, I don't know, they're so fun. They're crack.
Yeah, I remember.
It feels good.
Yes. Like you said, they are literally cocaine. But I remember when Roger came to visit me in December of, 2014, 2015?
14, yeah.
2014. And it was around Christmas time, so we kind of got each other gifts. And he got me Rhythm Heaven for the Wii. And it was the first time I ever played a Rhythm Heaven game. And we just played through the entire game in that 1 week. It was so fun.
And it wasn't even the 1 week. I think we beat it in 2 days.
Yeah, but then we kept replaying it.
Yeah,
because
we wanted
perfects and get the.
I still remember the first game we perfect.
Was it the date? The school
it was
date?
It was not date. It was not date.
Which one was it?
It was the seesaw one with the.
Oh yeah. Meatball beat. It's so good. Anyway, Rhythm Heaven is a fantastic sort of it's one of those weird, eccentric kind of collection of games that Nintendo does, kind of like WarioWare. It's got a similar flavor, sense of humor, but I love the Rhythm Heaven games. I love the music that they do. It's so fun to play. So if they made a new one, or even, this might be a little controversial, they could port Megamix too for the Switch, and that'd be pretty cool too.
I wouldn't buy it,
I just want them to make a new one.
I do want a new one, and if they do make a new one, like I said before, hey Nintendo, I hope you're listening, or whoever makes this, I forget. Is it Nintendo? Yeah. It's not R&D, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It's somewhere in Nintendo.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Nintendo franchise.
Well, Nintendo, if you're gonna make a new one, you better include some more Love Rap, because I love that freaking game.
Yo, the sequel to Love Rap. That'd be pretty cool.
Because I know they have 2 in Rhythm Heaven Fever, and I know you can play Love Rap in other games like Megamix, but I need a 3rd iteration of Love Rap. I need to know what happens.
I really hope we get a Rhythm Heaven game. That'd be a really cool one. And then I think I'm pretty much tapped as far as wild hopes, because honestly, my wild hopes are a follow-up to Zelda and Mario. Those are the ones that I don't think
I would
will
love
happen.
to hear something. That would be nice. Yeah. I know that if they even mention it, that is out insane.
Right. All right. Well, the last thing I'll mention is that Treehouse happens after the Direct, and sometimes they have little announcements in those, so I'll definitely be watching all of
They're
those.
never that big, but it's nice. They usually be playing some nice games.
We just talked about Rhythm Heaven. They announced Rhythm Heaven Megamix during
true,
a Treehouse
actually.
segment
You're
out
right.
of nowhere in 2016. So it was honestly because of that, because that was the year that they said that they were only going to show Breath of the Wild, and then it was hey, Rhythm Heaven Megamix exists, and
what
it comes
they showed
out today.
17. Ever Oasis?
17. They showed Ever Oasis in 2016 actually. Too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then 2017, I guess they showed like Sushi Striker or something like that. But yeah, so I'm really excited for the Treehouse stuff. I love watching all that stuff because they'll kind of go a little deeper with the games that they just kind of blew out. So like maybe they'll show off Luigi's Mansion in a trailer or Link's Awakening, and then we'll get to see like an extended gameplay segment. So I like watching those, and maybe sometimes we'll get cool announcements. But otherwise, I think that's about it. If you listen to this whole discussion,
My God, you deserve a medal.
You deserve a medal because, I mean, this is capping out about like 2 hours now. We just wanted to get here to kind of share our excitement about E3 because it's a magical time of year and there's so much to be excited about now. So, unless you have anything to add, I think that's it for us today.
The only thing I have to add is, let's just pray that it goes well. Let's just hope that whatever forces the universe is dictated by, let's just E3 be really good. I just need it to be really good.
And here's what's going to happen.
Okay, yeah.
Every game is going to be gacha style. So, like, it's like the new Mario game exists.
Favorite type!
And you have to, like, roll for kingdoms. Like, you have to, and you get, like, different ranks. So it's like, you can get one that's not that fun for, like, $2, but if you spend $10, you have a chance at getting one that's kind of good.
Dude, if I spend 100, do I get Delfino? Or do I get to roll for Delfino?
You get a chance of, like, more than 5%.
Holy dude, this sounds so good.
So, if you listen to this, thank you so much. We're still getting started on this channel. We're enjoying making stuff like this, and we got more stuff.
Look out for more videos on the come up about whatever the heck.
About whatever we feel like talking about. So
it could be about
vegetables.
There you go, perfect. I'm glad. See, look, he jumps in with the good topic. You want to know where it's spinach?
Time.
Yeah, tune in next time.
Tune in next time for top 10 veggies in video games. That's all for today, guys. Have a good one. Signing off.
Later, guys. What's up, everybody? This is Roger, and you just finished watching the second part of our E3 discussion, mainly about Nintendo. So if you haven't seen the first part, go ahead and give that a listen if you want to hear about anything else that'll be coming up at E3. And that's about it. So leave any feedback you'd like to leave, and like we said before in the video, we'll be making videos about whatever the heck we want. Have yourselves a wonderful E3.